right, so as we're starting to talk about what it looks like to connect with God, before we get into the methods of what that looks like, I want to take a little bit of time and talk about the mindset. Because as we're going to connect with God, one of the most important questions we can ask ourselves is, how do I view God? In fact, I would argue that is one of the most important questions we can ask ourselves in all of life. The pastor theologian A.W. Tozer explains it like this. He says, what comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us. Worship is pure or base as the worshiper entertains high or low thoughts of God. See, what A.W. Tozer is saying is how we view God is the most important thing about us because how we view God determines how we view everything else. How you view God determines how you view yourself, whether you see yourself as God's loving, purposeful, intentional creation, or whether you view yourself just as a random accident. How you view God determines how you view the other people in your life, whether you see them as God's loving creation, or if you see them as annoying or competitors for the resources that you want, or simply tools to be used. How you view God determines how you view the world around you and your place within it. Suffice it to say, how we view God is the most important thing about us because it determines how we view everything else, especially when it comes to the idea of connecting with God. And so here's what I want to give us. I want to give just a fundamental principle as we start this process of connecting with God and cultivating a relationship with Him. This is what we have to know. As we push forward to connect with God, you have to know God deeply wants to connect with you. Now, there's a number of Bible verses that I could use to support that idea. I just want to read a few verses from Isaiah, and it's God speaking through the prophet Isaiah in these verses. And as we read this is what I want you to do. Pay attention to all the invitations that God makes, all the welcoming that God provides. This is what it says. Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters, and you who have no money, come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without money and without cost. Why spend money on what is not bread and your labor on what does not satisfy? Listen to me. Eat what is good, and you will delight in the richest of fare. Give ear and come to me. Listen that you may live. I will make an everlasting covenant with you. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call on him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake their ways and the unrighteous their thoughts. Let them turn to the Lord, and he will have mercy on them, and to our God, for he will freely pardon. Like, listen to all those invitations. God's saying, hey, come to me. Man, hey, if you don't have any money, no problem. I'll give you food. I'll give you wine. I'll give you milk. Man, if you have nothing to offer, no problem. If you're a sinner, hey, forsake your ways. No problem. Come to me. The invitation is wide open. So here's what I want us to know as we start this process of connecting to God. You can be confident that the wind is at your back, that the God of heaven wants to connect with you even more than you may want to connect with him. How crazy is that? That the God that breathed out stars, the creator of everything we see, he wants to connect. He wants a relationship with you. I want to call this idea the approachability of God, that God desires to connect with you. And so as we start this process, note two things. Number one, how you view God is the most important thing about you. And number two, know that as we go to connect with him, God himself wants to connect with you. And so he's leading this process. He's guiding. He's directing. It's not all this pressure on you. God himself is taking the reins because he wants a relationship with you.